morning, Cedar Ridge. I'm Christopher Zarowski.
And I'm Colin Mallet.
And you're watching Wolf TV.
Good morning, Cedar Ridge. What is my line? That it's framed correctly. No one wants to go through this when editing. Good morning, Cedar Ridge. This is Wolf TV.
Hello, Cedar Ridge. I'm Alyssa.
And I'm Rachel. Welcome to another episode of
Wolf TV.
I'm Dario, and I was on Season 2 of Wolf TV. My role was primarily to be behind the camera, setting up lighting and camera work, and also directing it in part.
My name is Matthew Shiplett. I was the comedic genius behind Fast Boy during Season 1's run.
Oh yeah, big kahuna. Let's go for it. Let's get Hungo Bungo. I'm like sack of Jewia.
And honestly, it hasn't been the same ever since.
My name is Zach Berry. I did a sports segment. I had like a 3 or 4 minute blurb where I think I gave a tour of the new gym, and I made a really, really sweet half court behind the back shot. But I also did some editing, and I was a part of the first season of Wolf TV.
Hi, my name is Rivers Andrews. I worked as the sportscaster and a sort of executive producer for Season 2 of Wolf TV.
My name is Ryan Whitfield. I was mainly a editor and producer, more on the back end of things, but every now and again I would produce my own segments when I needed to, and I was a part of Season 3.
I'm hungry. I'm so hungry. Okay.
So your name's Hungry?
My name is Zeke Canby, and I had a segment, a student spotlight, and it was my sophomore year, so 2 years ago. And I worked a little bit this year, but not really that much.
Hello, my name is Hortensia Garcia. I was in Season 1 of Wolf TV. I was occasionally in it. I was actually an editor.
I'm Cameron Chaney. I was one of the anchors. It doesn't play in the mornings? I've been saying good morning for the past 8 episodes. It doesn't play in the mornings. It doesn't play in the morning. None of this plays. It's in the afternoon. It's in the afternoon. And I wrote a lot of the scripts for Season 2 of Wolf TV.
People just call you the twins.
They do.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. It's like I have a name, you know.
My name is Rachel Sari,
My name's Alyssa Sari.
and we were both anchors in Season 3. And we were writers also for Season 2 for a little bit. And I'm going to be the executive producer in Season 4. And Alyssa's going to be
An anchor.
for Season 4.
So one of the greatest things about Wolf TV was that it was a way for us to express ourselves as students. Another great thing about Wolf TV for me personally was that it was a great way for me to get hands-on experience.
To list a few of the strengths of Wolf TV, I'd probably start with myself, considering that I was the comedic genius behind all of it.
I think Wolf TV's strengths were that we were all like a friend group before the show even started. We were always hanging around Miss Dagette's room, like during lunch. And I think that Wolf TV is like this idea that she's always had and always wanted to pursue. And I think our friend group was perfect for kicking it off because we were always in there. We all really liked videography. And honestly, I like to think that those guys were really funny. So I think it was the perfect recipe.
The strengths, I think, are the ability of the show to kind of get ideas and information to students. I would call it sugarcoating it. The announcements are very sort of unapologetically bland, and it's very clear, that this is just stuff that they're making you listen to, and nobody, really listens to them. If you can use editing tricks and different engaging content to make the kids actually inadvertently pick up some useful information, it's really useful tool in that regard.
A strength I thought was that it was a creative outlet for all of us. We were able to put stuff out there that the student body would normally see.
My favorite thing about being a part of Wolf TV was honestly being able to spend time with my friends and create a project that we were proud of because, we really put our heart and soul in every week to try to do our best with the limited skills and equipment that we had.
I think the strengths of Wolf TV are
personal for the students and also for the community. The students in the school all have a chance of getting a voice on this program, sometimes whether they want to or not, and that makes it more democratic, more inclusive. It gives a chance for the school to come together, and for me the most important aspect is that it's for students by students, as opposed to the people in charge dictating what should or should not be on the news. I think it's a chance for the students to really depict the culture that they are experiencing in that particular year.
When we first introduced Fast Boy, it was a video of him sliding butt first down a rail. It followed his butt as he went down the rail. And then all you see is Lawson's hand slapping it. I'm still baffled that got through.
Being a media representative that has to go through all sorts of administration and censorship can really hinder on the creative aspects of a lot of it, but ultimately that's what has to be done in order to keep it clean.
I think in the beginning we got in a little bit of heat with administration. I think our jokes maybe went a little too far sometimes.
Some of the weaknesses of Wolf TV, as I said, is it's very limited by the fact that it's produced in 1 week during lunch primarily. So you only have 5 hours to produce everything, and that makes a lot of blunders kind of get to the final cut.
I think one of the main weaknesses was like the time constraint.
Just the time constraints.
The time constraint.
Because it is a weekly segment.
Once a week, on Friday morning.
It's something that you have to keep up with and stay ahead of the curve.
Sometimes we had to push out a product that I would have like rather refined more, but it's like, you know, we've got to get this thing out.
A weakness I thought was the reaction to Wolf TV. People wouldn't put it on in their classrooms.
Yeah, weakness was like it was optional for teachers to put it on because they thought that the extra time that they were supposed to play it was also time that they could teach. So that was definitely a weakness because a lot of people wouldn't be able to see it because the teachers wouldn't put it on.
Another thing that adds a different dimension to Wolf TV, which makes it more interesting, is the fact that being a high school TV show, it has its limits. Because it has to be approved by the administration. You can't let anything go on in a public school system. These restrictions also kind of add a different dynamic of having to get more creative to express your ideas and express what you want to show. You know, you can't go too far, but you also don't want to go really bland, because if it's really bland, then people aren't going to be interested in it.
Another minor problem that we ran into was maybe the mic's not always working. I know for the spring break episode, we had a surfboard involved, we had a bouncy house, and we really didn't know if we were going to get away with it. And it ended up turning out really well. Like, we got Ms. Blackman, the principal at the time, to even get in the bouncy house, and we interviewed her in there. But a lot of that footage we actually lost because the mics weren't working, and that was like just the worst. We came back and we realized that like we had lost half of that footage, and it was so bad.
When you go out, you film something, you think you've got all the footage, and oh, the mics weren't on, or you know, you ran out of space on the SD card and you have to trek all the way back. Like, you know, as a sportscaster, sometimes we'd go all the way down to the football field. So we'd walk all the way down to the football field and go, oh, we don't have space on the SD card. And somebody would have to come back. And usually it was equipment malfunctions that were the worst.
What problems did you run into while making the show?
Didn't you just ask that?
Yeah, I did, actually. I was seeing if you were paying attention.
Different answer.
How did Wolf TV evolve over the year?
So at first it began that we were just like all scared little anchors, and everyone was just sort of like new at it. And then we got more confident and we memorized our lines instead of reading off the paper, and we just became more professional, I feel like.
Yes, it took us a long time in the beginning of the school year to shoot our segments, but as the year progressed, we were able to get it done within a short amount of time.
As we went on, we were kind of feeling a little bit more confident in ourselves, and so we were able to say, all right, we have this little thing. We could just say, here's what's happening, go to the chorus concert, you know, or we could really apply ourselves. We could make this a full segment. We could, you know, we have footage of different concerts. We could put those in. And so really what changed is the quality of how we were presenting the information. It wasn't as much of a, you know, things get easier. We just apply ourselves more in ways that we weren't able to earlier.
I think the approaches to the production in the last 3 seasons have definitely changed a lot. In the first year, it was very off the cuff. It was very chaotic. I never knew if they were going to pull everything together in time for the deadline. Then the second year was following, the success of the first season. So it was a little tougher for them. They tried out a lot of different things over the year and ultimately just ended up having a lot of fun doing sort of narrative stuff, skits. This year has been the easiest as far as production goes because everything was so organized and the main players were very talented and creative and worked well together. So it was a very easy year for me as the sponsor of the group or the organization or the controlled chaos.
I would say originally Wolf TV started kind of as a joke, something that we all just wanted to put our time into and have as a creative outlet, but it turned into something very structured and something that students could reliably count on.
It went from being, everybody's just kind of trying to see stuff out, they're trying to see if they like it or not, to then something that's kind of more consistent. It got more of a usual, typical week-to-week show.
In the first semester, we had 3 TAs, like 18 hours. We had like a lot of hours to put into it. Anyway, when the second semester hit, our like main editors weren't TAs. We ended up going from near 20 hours a week to work on it to like 5. And as the year went on, we kind of had to make it more efficient and kind of make sure everyone's doing their own thing, kind of make everything more compartmentalized and like really manage our time. We didn't have time to waste doing more than we had planned.
The one thing that was constant was actually relaying useful information to the student body, because that was supposed to be the whole point of it, was for us to present like school news in an interesting way.
I think the show really did contribute to the culture of the school. It was like the talk of the town. I got a lot of comments about some of the episodes of Fast Boy. I think he was like the main point. People would watch all the informative stuff and they'd be like, yeah, all right, let's see the funny part, And I think that's so important with the news show. Like, it's boring until you get to the funny bit, I also think that it brought the school together in a big way. When we did go out and shoot with Fast Boy, he wasn't interviewing people that he knew and people that he was comfortable with interviewing. He was interviewing all kinds of people. It wasn't just the seniors, and it wasn't just like this group of friends. It was like freshmen and people that maybe don't do a lot of extracurricular activity. It was like putting a spotlight on the entire audience. And I think that was a super cool thing that we did.
Wolf TV contributed to the culture, just like the students having something to look forward to every Friday. It was sort of like, like Wolf TV, like that's on Friday, like, that's what we're gonna watch. It was sort of like a standard.
Yeah.
So it sort of became part of the culture.
I feel like it really can impact teacher and student connections. I just really remember this one segment where they went around and teachers told stories. I feel like that was just really interesting as like a concept, because once a student hears this personal story from a teacher, they can identify with the teacher more. They're like, oh, this person's not just a teacher, they're also a person who's had experiences and can tell stories. And I think that can really contribute to a connection forming between a teacher and a student, and I think that's facilitated through Wolf TV.
There was a lot of communication skills that came to me through Wolf TV. There wasn't any stuff given to us on a silver platter. A lot of it was, all right, here's your lead, go work on it. And that was really, really good for talking to people, for organizing interviews and things like that. But by far the biggest skill is definitely applying yourself to something. This wasn't a class. We didn't get credit hours for it, and we did it during our lunchtime. And so when you have a weekly deadline that doesn't change, every single week, even if it's a 4-day week, you're going to be working on it, you're going to be putting out an episode, you're going to have to work with a team, you're going to have to talk to these people. There was so much that I got from that in terms of being able to apply myself to projects and sticking through to projects that I worked on. You couldn't just abandon it and say, hey, I think we're not going to do it this week. That wasn't allowed. No, you'd finish what you got. However much time you had, whatever footage you had, you put yourself to it and you made it the best that you could.
I mean, of course you learn how to actually work equipment and edit and stuff, but you also learn how to work with a team to get everything done. You learn like the time management stuff that comes along with working with a crew of people who all have to get different segments compiled into a single sort of work. Everyone's stuff sort of affects the others, so you learn how to kind of work with that dynamic.
We learned how to be anchors.
Yeah, we learned to be confident on camera.
What goes on behind the scenes.
How to work the camera.
Edit footage. Sound, miking.
Lighting. We learned a lot of
what goes on, like when you watch like a movie or TV, like you don't think about what goes on behind the scenes. You think about the actors, but you don't think of like how
the hard work.
Yeah.
And so we were able to get like a glimpse of that doing Wolf TV.
I think it's super important for students to be involved in things like Wolf TV, mainly because like you have something from your high school times or that you can show other people, and I think like having something from that time is so crucial because it's so easy to forget like what it was like in high school.
I think it's important to be involved in things like Wolf TV, even if it's not what you're going to do for a living, because administration and teachers like go through so much crap and they like do all this stuff, so I feel like it's kind of good for students to kind of give back in a little way, I guess, even if it's just like a TV show.
I think you can kind of get what you want from Wolf TV if you take part in front of the camera. I know it taught me how to speak in public. Obviously, it didn't teach me to speak in public better. I'd say it gave me more confidence in front of a camera or just in front of an audience, and it made me more conscious of the things that I was saying while being recorded. I think if anybody wants to be a part of Wolf TV, they can really benefit from it just by getting that experience in any production setting.
You know, my hope for future seasons of Wolf TV is just to build off of what we as the second season did, because we built off of the first season, you know, what they accomplished as far as getting it established and creating interest for it and kind of creating a formula. We built off of that and tried to make it into more of a news show that had some funny segments in it, and you know, we hoped when we left that people would continue to build that and make it better and better and more polished every year.
My outlook for the show, I think it's going to be really
great.
Awesome. It's going to be great. We're going to take it to the next level.
We're going to blow all the other seasons out of the water. Mark my words.
We're going to see
this like in a year. Like, oh my god, it's terrible.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about season 4. I'm thinking that this might be our best season yet. Not sure, but super excited.
I'm sad that it's over, but it was such a fun experience getting to work on Wolf TV and get to work with some amazing people.